Hi, I'm Jim Stroud, and this is my show. On today's episode, this show will bring up a variety of topics.
The two major parties have a stranglehold, almost a monopoly on the entire political establishment, and it's very unfortunate.
And we are the Bad Sisters.
And here we go. Hello, Jim Stroud here. I identify as an imperfect Christian, husband, father, friend, and patriot. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, where I had the privilege of two parents. I was taught to work hard because life didn't owe you anything. I was taught to treat people the way I wanted to be treated. And I was encouraged to ask questions when I didn't understand something. And that is what my show is about, asking questions, not necessarily about giving answers, although there will be some. This show will bring up a variety of topics, and some will be provocative. How I and my guests respond to those topics may encourage you or enrage you or make you laugh. Whatever your reaction, I hope to make the show as interesting as possible. Speaking of which, on this show, I will be discussing a lot about political and social issues. And because of my opinion, I will lose some friends, no doubt, at least according to Axios. Check out this report. Where is it? Sorry. Axios reported this. It says here that 71% of Democrats wouldn't go on a date with someone with opposing views versus 31% of Republicans. 30% of Democrats and 7% of Republicans wouldn't work for someone who voted differently from them. And this last little stat is interesting to me. When it comes to just being friends with someone, 37% of Democrats and 5% of Republicans won't even try to be friends. And that's the world we're living in today. Now, this poll was of college students nationwide, but I've noticed that political partisan divide extends beyond college campuses. Back in 2019, Pew Research surveyed 10,000 plus Americans and found out that they did not just disagree on how the country should be run. Oh no. Democrats and Republicans both saw the other political parties' views as being immoral. Specifically, bring it a stat. Yeah. Specifically this. 55% of Republicans and 47% of Democrats view members of the other party as more immoral than other Americans. Wow. The political parties also say that the other party is too extreme with their views. Check this out. Nearly identical majorities say each party is described at least somewhat well by the phrase is too extreme in its positions. 63% say about that, say that about the Republican Party, and 61% say that about the Democratic Party. Part of the reason why there is so much division is because people with opposing views talk at each other as opposed to talking to each other. and when the conversation is over, more than likely both sides are doubling down on the beliefs they had before the conversation started. And I have proof about that, beyond anecdotal proof. Check this out. Researchers from Duke University, Princeton, and New York University surveyed a large sample of Democrats and Republicans who live on Twitter and got them to follow political influencers with opposing views for a month. The end result? Republicans became substantially more conservative, whereas Democrats became slightly more liberal. And that's not the only study of its kind. Yale University did a study that was fascinating. Yale University found that people who had strong math skills were only good at solving a math problem if the solution to the problem conformed to their political beliefs. Liberals were only good at solving a math problem, for instance, if the answer to their problem showed that gun control reduced crime. Conservatives were only good at solving this problem if the solution showed that the gun control increased crime. And, and here's another report from the American Psychological Association. Here's a quote. It found that the higher an individual's IQ is, the better they are at coming up with reasons to support a position, but only a position they agree with. Wow, right? But I digress. When it comes to political parties, I identify as apolitical, which means I reserve the right to complain about everyone, because I believe there is no political party without sin. And I think we all can agree on that. That being said, though, I am conservative, which means a lot of different things. But for me, chiefly this. I believe that God is greater than government. I believe that we should have a strong military, strong families, and that we should help people who cannot help themselves. And I believe that despite its many flaws, America is an exceptional nation, the greatest nation on the planet. And when it's time to vote, I vote for the party that upholds these values every time. These are the principles that guide me. I don't know where you stand on the issues, but I want to make a promise to you, and I hope that you'll hold me accountable to it. And this is my promise. I do not now or ever expect this show to tell you how to think. I will tell you what I think and why, and you can do with that whatever you want. America is a free country with room for opposing views. I pray it stays that way. Hello, today I'm here with Seth Radwell, the author of American Schism. Seth, how are you?
Hello, Jim. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Appreciate you being here. Now, your book, American Schism, very, very interesting. Getting a lot of eyebrows to raise. A lot of people are talking about it. Tell the audience, if you would, basically what your book is about.
Well, so I'm a business guy. My whole career has been in building companies and brands. But I took a hiatus to do American Schism, which is, it's an investigative tracing of why our country is so divided today, what's going on. And it goes back to our founding to try to understand that. So it's kind of a journey. But the reason why I embarked on this journey and took a 3-year hiatus from my professional career was because I felt that the discourse in America, our political debate, has collapsed. And we forgot how to talk to each other reasonably and disagree and understand different points of view. And my feeling, Jim, is that that type of constructive debate, discussion, is fundamental in a democracy. And we can't hand this country to our kids without an ability to have discussion. So that's what led me to take this break and write American Schism, which is I think it struck a chord. It's become a bestseller, and I think people on both sides of the aisle, like across the political spectrum, people find it interesting because it's recommending a different approach to how we move forward.
I found it encouraging, the parts of it that I've been exposed to, because it assures me that although there's a divide now, it's not the first time. So this is all of this is really sort of a resurgence of things that happened from the birth of our country, and we survived it then. Right. So it gives me hope that we'll survive this incarnation of it as well.
Yes. That's exactly right. In fact, the history, many people are stuck in a time bubble. They think everything we see today is so unique, when many of these things have happened before. I mean, what's interesting is that over the course of our history, we've had tremendous disagreements at times. And at times we've been able to resolve them with some compromise and make progress in terms of resolutions. Other times it's been very violent, and that's unfortunate. So I think my point is that history can be a guide. If we forget about our history and don't know where we came from, how are we ever going to devise solutions for our problems today?
one thing that you illuminated in your book that was interesting to me is the two enlightenments
Yes.
going on. So you had Jefferson, Franklin, and Thomas Paine, and
Right.
others who felt like the government should be more representative of all peoples, that kind
Right.
of thing. And then you have on the
And
other hand,
decentralized.
yeah,
Yeah.
decentralized, where everybody gets a piece of the pie, so to speak.
Right.
So to
Right.
speak. And then you have Adams and Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, who arguing more that it should be the well-educated and the wealthier because they're elite and they know better. And
Yes.
I so see that now.
It's still going on. You know what's funny is that is a split between these two different enlightenments. Kind of sometimes it's called the moderate versus the radical enlightenment, and those visions were contending at our founding. So you had Jefferson and Franklin and Paine. You were exactly right, but then people like John Adams, who was an aristocrat, and Alexander Hamilton, who was a genius, but they believed the government, the elites, the knowledgeable should rule on behalf of the people because they knew how to solve problems. And it was a little bit modeled on the British Constitution, which kept a monarch, but had strong guardrails against democracy as well. So that, for example, one of the great examples in the book, which I talk about, is this compromise between these two systems, which came apparent in the Constitution. So the Constitution does have a democratic House that's elected by the people, but yet the Senate was much more of an aristocratic body without it being directly representative by electors that time. So again, so there was this contending battle between these two visions of how America should be governed.
I found it really interesting that Adams and Hamilton and others like them had that kind of viewpoint when they quite recently in their period of time left England to establish a new government, to flee persecution, to get away from monarchy and the aristocracy. And then once they're over here and comfortable, they want to go back to what they just fled. It's sort of like human nature a lot of times.
Absolutely. Very much. And one of you remind me of a great example. I think in many of the colonies before we became a country, for over 100 years, families had been established that were aristocratic and elites, and they were governing the colonies. So as much as based on the grievances against Britain, unfair taxation, standing armies, so they wanted to break away, but they were concerned about still, keeping order and ruling in the states, in this new country. So it was as much about home rule as it was about who was going to rule at home, if you will, in terms of what the revolution was about. And so that's very, very true. In fact, in many ways, the reason why the Federalist Papers is such an amazing political document is because it argues and tries to reconcile these two contending forms of government, this, a national government versus a federal system that's decentralized. And it tries to show how the American Constitution as a blueprint incorporated elements of both of the models.
Why do you think we haven't had a third party or fourth party or fifth party in this country like we do in Europe?
Well, that is a wonderful question. And I think it's because, unfortunately, the two major parties have a stranglehold, almost a monopoly on the entire political establishment. And it's very unfortunate. I think, we have had other parties in our history, and I can talk about where that's relevant. But what I say in American Schism is that the political industry today, it's broken. It's broken because it's more important to stay in office than to solve problems, and the money that's involved, and there's a lot of reasons why. In fact, there's another book called The Politics Industry by Catherine Hagel and Michael Porter that really talk about how broken it is. So you mentioned other parties. There are very simple mechanisms to allow other voices into the system. And of course, the current Democrat and Republicans don't want that. They want to keep control. But I'll give you an example. In our system right now, when there's a third party candidate for a federal election, it's that the person is usually a spoiler. In other words, the third party takes votes from one of the other two, and then never wins. There's something called ranked choice voting, which is actually a very simple mechanism that is being used locally, where we used it in the mayor's race that elected Eric Adams in New York City. So the way it works is the voters rank their choices, and there could be like 5 parties running, 5 candidates. And because you rank your choices, this ranked choice voting system actually better expresses the wills of the voter. Because if I rank someone and they fall out, they don't get in the top 2, then my vote in the old, now it counts again because my second choice will get my vote. In other words, so it counts votes a little bit more closely to what people actually want. And it allows, most importantly, more voices without spoilers. And so, there were 5 candidates for mayor, or 6 maybe, in New York City. And we had a very interesting debate because there was more ideas in the hopper. And so I point to ranked choice voting as one way of moving away from this 2-party dominance and getting other ideas in the mix. And like many things in America, I believe change at the federal level is hard. So I think it's going to happen first at the local level, in local elections.
That rank-based voting is interesting. I think as a way, I'm thinking of it as like a way for a politician to sort of line up their priorities. If they see that one person is getting that they've won, but they see that they just barely won because someone else was really close to them in votes, then it lets them know, they can say, okay, what was their platform? What were they running on? Because even though I won, that still is very important to my voters. So let me think about that. But the person who was 12th in line, no one's really caring about that person. So let me look at what he ran on, and I won't worry about that so much.
Yeah, well, it definitely helps with more ideas, better prioritization. And, you could have other candidates without having the notion of a spoiler or someone just taking candidates away from one of the 2 eventual winners. I think it's a much better system. It's used in Europe all the time. And that's the answer to your question about why Europe has more parties. They use systems like that.
Do you think that there would be election integrity issues around that kind of system if it was nationwide?
Well, so this is I love this question because the whole election integrity is fascinating. It seems to me like we are amazing in this country in terms of how we solve problems. We put a man on the moon in '69. We just developed a new virus platform for a major virus that's not perfect, but it's a new platform, and now it can expand and change and help people. Yet we can't find a way to have a secure voting system. I mean, it seems a little odd to me. So, my sense is that it's not hard to. I mean, election security is an issue, and it's been studied, and it's usually shown that there is sometimes localized fraud, but it's very difficult to have systemic fraud. We have a pretty safe system because we have this backup paper. And so I don't think election security is the issue. I think the issue is really more about what's the best way to express a diverse set of views and let them let them compete in the marketplace for support. And I think it's eminently doable. We just had it in New York, and it's pretty clear. So sometimes because it's multiple choice, multiple round, you rank the candidates, and the bottom ones fall out, and their votes get put to their second choice, and so that it juggles a little bit. So it took a week to figure out, I think, who won in New York. But it's a little bit complex to sort through and do the recalculating, but it's I think more expressive of what people want.
Your book, American Schism, is a wonderful read. I want to encourage everyone to go pick it up. Tell us again, where can we pick it up, actually?
So American Schism is available wherever books are sold. It's available on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, in airports. And there's a site, americanschismbook.com, which has some information about the book. You can download some chapters, and you can hear me talk about it. And you can also find links to buy it.
Seth Radwell, thanks for being on the show. Thanks again.
My pleasure. It's always great to be with you. Thanks for doing this.
The Jim Stroud Show will return after these special messages.
This episode of The Jim Stroud Show brought to you by Conservative Television of America, working hard to stick socialism where the sun don't shine. Conservative Television of America is now available on Fire TV Stick, Roku, and on the Conservative Television of America website. Tune in now at www.ctva.tv. Conservative Television of America. We say what you're thinking. The Jim Stroud Show is back. Thanks for watching. Hello, lovely ladies. How are you?
Good. Doing well, thank you.
Tell us, who are you and what do you do?
I am Dee Dee Bass-Wilbon. And I'm Dina Bass-Williams. And we are the Bass Sisters. We always laugh when we say that. I know. I don't know why. Whenever we say that, I feel like we're like, the Andrews sisters. Like, we're the Bass Sisters.
You sound like a musical group, like you're a music act.
Not saying. No, we cannot. Not even in the shower. Yeah.
So what do you guys do?
Well, we manage our real day job is managing a public affairs firm, Bass Public Affairs. We like to say we help people get in or out of the media. Mm-hmm. We don't sell widgets, we sell ideas. So we've been doing that for almost a little over 15 years now. Mm-hmm. Actually, December is our 15th month. Anniversary. So
wow. Okay.
And we also have a podcast, and we host a television show here in Washington, D.C. called Beyond the Narrative. Our podcast is Policy and Poundcake. And we can also add to the title, to our list of things, we are authors.
Nice. Tell me about your book. What's your book?
Well, we are really excited. It's Prayer and
Poundcake.
Mm-hmm.
And we've taken the experiences that we've had over the last 15 years in business, and we put them in a book, just common sense advice, running a small, family business, but also we believe that it takes a lot of prayer and generous doses of our mama's homemade pound cake. So there's a lesson in 31 days, like there's a lesson every day. And then there's scripture that we base the lessons on. And then there's a call to action to actually get up and do stuff. So
nice. Yeah. Now I've seen some of your videos, and you guys are very entertaining as well as informative as well. And I definitely feel that you're sort of rooted in conservatism. Is your whole family on the conservative side of things or more on the liberal side of things?
Well, that's funny. I would say no, they're not. We are both married, and both of our husbands consider themselves to be on the. Well, they are Democrats, but they are in fact conservatives. Right.
So they are. Like if we go toe to toe on issues, they agree with us,
everything. Right.
But they in fact identify
as Democrats, which when they say that, we look at them and we're like, okay, we love you, but whatever.
That is interesting. So is it that just the word conservative is just
I think
dirty
it's more
word? Is that it?
I think it's more the word Republican.
More the word Republican than conservative. But we grew up as conservatives because of our faith, and our mom took us to
our first meeting, her first Republican meeting, when I was 12 and Dina was 11. Mm-hmm. And we helped elect the first Black female city councilwoman in Columbus, Georgia, who happened to be and she was a Republican. And that was our first campaign, doing droplets and knocking on doors and calling people.
We were, they had us on the phone.
They did.
Like we were actually calling people back then.
They did.
But we've been working in conservative Republican politics since 11 and 12.
Right.
So it's, this is not, it's not new to us. It's who we are. We don't get freaked out because people are like, people assume that we are Democrats,
right?
But it's
just part of. This is how we grew up,
and we identify as both conservatives and Republicans. We recognize that there is a difference, but and we don't. And I know people are into this. Oh, no labels, no labels. No, we actually are conservatives, and we're okay with being identified as such.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you get a lot of dirty looks from the public when you announce your politics to people? Sort of
Well,
like,
I think that we don't get, I wouldn't say we get dirty looks, but we both have lost friends over our politics,
particularly in the last
election,
in the last year.
And it's funny because I think a lot of the people who unfriended us,
like they virtually and literally unfriended us,
right? And these are people that we have known, that we consider
have gone
family.
through, those things that you don't tell anybody but the people who know you,
right?
Like we've gone through, and I'll be honest, in one case in particular, I actually cried, I mean,
and actually because it hurt, because again, we've known some of these people I'm 50, Dina's, how are you?
I'll be 49 in January.
No, you'll be 50. No, you'll be
I'll be 49 in January.
You'll be 49 in January. And but we've known these people for 20 plus years, if not longer. And so to have them call us, or not even call us, but just say, because we voted for a particular person, we're crazy and they're no longer speaking to us. And so, and in some cases, they actually agree with the politics, but they didn't like you voted for that person. And we're like, but we don't vote for the person, we vote for the policies. And we very much celebrate like the marketplace of ideas, open public discourse. We like in our social media, in our daily lives, we so value diversity of thought. Like we think we're right, but we love to hear people tell us what their opinions are, and especially if they're completely different than ours. And we welcome that opportunity to have those conversations.
And in our relationships, like the people that we love most on this side of heaven, many of them do not share our views on marriage, do not share our views on our religion, certainly don't share our politics. They don't like the same foods that we like, but you know what? That makes us richer. So we are so hungry for diversity of thought in our lives, right?
And not that it's going to change our views,
and it probably won't change
at
our
all.
views.
And we're not trying to change theirs. And so it hurts very much so when we have people who completely cancel us or disregard us because we have those different views.
And I should say though, it hurts when it is people, I could care less if it's.
It hurts when it's someone that we love and we, like Dina said, who they know everything behind that happened behind the shed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But we do get, we recognize that we'll get, you have people generalize and comment about you who
don't even know you.
Right? We don't care about them. It's when it's people who you have just been through it with.
Don't cry.
I'm not going to. We're co-criers.
We do. If she's yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't need her to start crying with me.
That's fine. I usually cry at tax time. It's interesting that you say that. It's interesting that you say that, and I don't want to belabor this topic, but it seems that so much has changed in our society. It used to be that people would say, I'm Christian, and because I'm Christian, I'm going to vote this way, or I'm going to do this kind of action. But now it seems like there's a new religion taking root in our society, for lack of a better word, wokeism, right? And it's like, because I am Republican, I'm going to believe this way. Because I'm a Democrat, I'm going to believe this way. And it's like the politics have taken priority over our identities more so than things like our religion or where we're from, or things like that. Do you think that politics has taken the place of religion in America, and to a large extent, at least to some extent?
I guess it has. Something has certainly taken place of what we consider like a true personal, intimate relationship with Christ for us. So I do believe that there are some people who, communities, groups that are, when we don't like this, we know that this is not a faith-based show, but we don't separate our faith from who we are. So, and we don't ask anyone to do that, because we're not going to do it. So we don't, like, if you do what you celebrate, because we certainly aren't going to separate ourselves from Christ. So I do believe that there are people who, on the left and the right, in the Black evangelical church and in the Black church and the white evangelical church, who have put party and the red team and the blue team before
above their
before their
relationship.
faith, before their relationship with Christ.
Right.
You know, and it's like we talk
And
about
so, but we say that, you know, it for Dina and I, it doesn't really matter. It does matter, but then it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. We're always like, what is truth? What is the what is God saying, and what is He telling us to do, and how is He ordering our steps? And like you said, we can't deviate from that. And so, and we like to say, we don't sign kukakary. So if it's coming from, doesn't matter where it's coming from. If it's crazy, it's crazy. And if it's not of God, then we're not going to celebrate it.
Right.
I hear you. It reminds me of a hashtag I think I saw on your site, attack policy, not people.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we truly believe that.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of politics, 2022 is upon us, which means that there's going to be another White House run in the very near future once we get past the midterms, of course, but there will be a White House run in the near future. And I think it begins in 2022 because they tend to campaign at least 2 years out before that. I have a prediction of who's going to be the Democratic choice for the White House, but I'm curious to know first, who do you think is going to be? Then I'll tell you mine. I promise I won't change it.
Well, I think that President Biden is going to, I think he's going to run again.
You change your mind.
You think so?
She flip-flops on this. Like 1 week she'll say he's going to run. Then the last week, I think we have you on tape saying that he's not going to run.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think he's going to run.
Okay.
Really?
I do.
Well, okay.
I have a wild card, and I actually think that because she has wanted it so bad.
Who? Hillary?
I think Hillary is
you know
going
what,
to run
Dina?
again.
You know why? And I know why you said that,
Why?
because I just saw something that it was a couple of weeks ago, but she was doing something. I think that she probably will.
I think that because
she wanted that so bad.
They are such a disaster right now, and you have people.
But she's attacking policy. She's not attacking
She is attacking people sometimes, though.
But she is, Dina. I'm talking about you. When you said that, you said disaster.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm saying
I have to get her on that a lot.
I'm saying their situation is so disastrous.
Right.
That I think that, I mean, you have like Amy Klobuchar in the wings, Cory Booker.
And Amy Klobuchar, I think that she should have been the pick, to be honest.
You think so?
Well, I think I think, actually.
Is it because she's the most likable or the most relatable to the masses, you think more so?
I don't think she's even
less
that
elite?
necessarily. No. But I think that Klobuchar, obviously, the Kamala Harris, I mean, it's no joke. No secret. People knew that
the only reason she was being picked,
and she's a Black woman,
right?
And they needed to have some Black girl magic on there, because the bottom line is that, and this is what we say to our very close Black women who are Democrats. They have been saving Black women have been saving the Democrats' bacon for too long, for generation after generation,
and they needed to have something.
Like they have to have something to show for it. And so they
had to show for it. Her numbers were so low, she couldn't even make the debate stage.
Yeah. But anyway. You asked, we digress.
Yes,
I say Hillary Clinton.
Okay. I can agree with you, but my crazy prediction, and this will depend on whether or not Hillary Clinton does decide to run, which I can agree with you. I am starting to see signs of that. I was going to go with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I'll tell you why. Depending on, she has a lot of influence already in the Democratic Party. She's able to influence policy decisions, even though she's not a Nancy Pelosi in terms of power, but some people say that she really is the head of the Democratic wing, because when she and the squad get together and make enough noise, everyone on the left seems to shift in her direction.
But they haven't been able to do that lately.
Right, they haven't.
Not lately, but I think that depending on how things go, I think she has a decent shot. I think she's old enough now to run for president as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think I don't think she's yet 35, is she?
I think she's close to it if she isn't. I think she'd be 35 by 2024. I could be wrong. But that's my long shot. But if Hillary Clinton decides to run, then that's it. She's going to be the ticket, because people are going to drop off one way or another if she decides to run. And if she decides it's going to be hers. I think it would be interesting if she runs again. I think that the mainstream media will love to see her do that because it'll mean more ratings.
Oh my goodness.
Them.
Just eat it up.
Oh yeah. And if Trump runs again, it's going to be, the Thriller Manila, the rematch. Yeah. and they will hype that to no end.
Yes, they will.
That being said, that is my prediction that Trump is going to run. But if he decides not to run, if he says, you know what, I had enough of it, I'm going to just be a kingmaker. Who do you think he should nominate in his place if he decides not to run?
Well, we have I think that he's going to run again. I hope he does.
I think that he will probably run again. I will say that I think people like DeSantis obviously are looking good. I think Senator Scott is a good placement somewhere on the ticket.
Sure.
I would love to see Nikki Haley on the ticket, to be honest.
Okay. What do you like about her?
I think that she's an amazing woman. She's very strong.
Yeah, and she has the governorship executive experience. She has the international experience.
Right.
But she does have she was loyal enough to President Trump, I think,
to get his support. That is true. She was. So where she not be in his, I don't think she'll be in his crosshairs of, so I do. And I would love to see her.
Yeah, run. We do. There's some things that you can't really put in it's not necessarily good on paper, but
just an intangible.
But we think she's like a badass. You know what I mean? She just is. And she's a Southerner.
You like her better than Kristi Noem, who was getting a lot of play at one point, but then she sort of stumbled a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think that she has a longer term. She has been out there longer, and I think is a little bit more tested. But I don't think we're going to be looking at anybody. I think the president. I think 45 is going.
Once he says that he's going to run, then that's it.
Yeah, and I think he is going to say.
And I think he's going to say he's going to run.
Do you? Okay. You think he's going to run?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much a sure thing. Unless he suddenly feels like I'm tired of it, but I don't really pick that up from him. I see him doing a lot of stealth moves here and there, just like I see as I think about Hillary Clinton. I think what'll solidify for her, definitely being the nominee, is when I see her speaking on behalf of see her campaigning for other candidates. When I see her doing that, I saw her, I think it was on Good Morning America or some show like that, when she was reading her speech that she would have given if she had run, and how she started crying and that kind of thing. I saw that as a retort to criticism that she's not emotional, or that she's not, I don't say human, but she's not as likable. And so I think that was a way of humanizing herself more so to the public. So when I saw that, and if I see her campaigning for more people, then I would say for sure she's running.
Yeah.
How old is she?
68.
Oh, she's in her 60s?
Yeah, she's still in her 60s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like 68, 69, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna run.
I could be wrong.
That would be, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That would be so interesting.
Going down my list of 2022 predictions, let me ask you this. Black Lives Matter was really on their way to being another political party of their own, it seemed like. They had a tremendous amount of influence. But over time, after so many protests and mostly peaceful riots, they seem to have lost favor with the public. I read recently that they've lost 90% of their support, or some huge number like that of their support among the public. But election is coming around the corner, and I know that the left likes to fan the flames of racial divide to gin up votes. Do you think in 2022 BLM will make a resurgence?
I don't know. And then here in DC, the mayor has adopted that whole the whole street as Black Lives Matter.
Is it still up? I thought they painted over that.
No, I don't think they painted over. I think they just
I've been sorry.
They kind of updated it to make it a tourist attraction, according to what she said on the news a couple of months ago.
But I think that the organization even if they've lost favor, I think we should be mindful of where they move their antagonism to, like where they move their operations, right? So I do think that Black Lives Matter, like we screenshot their website literally 2 years before people started talking about, oh my gosh, they're taking their website down, because we knew that at some point they would take that,
all of the stuff that they had on there down. They would have to change it.
And we screenshot it because we wanted to share with our friends, like we support yes, we believe that Black Lives Matter, but we support organizations that share our political and biblical worldview. And when
they did not,
in their language, when they talk about specifically dismantling the family, that kind of stuff, we understood what that meant, right? Promoting like transgender, like we understood what all that meant.
Yeah. So,
but as far as the organization goes, as far as the organization goes, I think that global organization will have problems, but I think that the way those kinds of people sow racial unrest, that we will always have to be on the lookout for.
Okay. Roe v. Wade is in the spotlight. Will it be overturned? Will it become a constitutional right, or will it just be a matter of states' rights?
I think it'll bounce to the states.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I think it will.
And and we'll take, like, we are so pro-life, we'll take any win we can get at this point.
Okay.
We don't care. We'll take, give us any number of weeks, because we're going to keep chipping away at it. So
because it's just something that it's just a part of us.
Yeah. So, but I feel like, and we're, the people who we listen to, and this is not an area where we've not read the case
studies and all that stuff,
but we think probably to the states, and you'll have states like New York and California that will have issues, but places like Georgia, we think,
which is our home,
and one of the places where as last we checked, one of the few places where you can get the later term abortions. And so we think that as Georgia grows more red, it'll go to this.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, what do you think?
I think it will go to states' rights. I think people will cry bloody murder, no pun intended, about it, and that they will use it as a political campaign rallying cry. They've won this. We need to get our people in office to stop the Republicans from doing this kind of thing.
Right.
So I think they are positioning themselves for that.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right about that. I wonder, though, this is where we feel like we as conservatives need to do a better job of messaging.
Right.
Because when because people are always like, oh, Roe versus Wade, 70% of Americans support Roe versus Wade. Okay, you can have that argument.
Right.
But when you break it down to, do 70% of Americans believe that you can abort a baby at 15 weeks?
And if you keep going and, like you said, chipping away at it, people are like, well, no.
So we've got to take away this banner of Roe versus Wade,
right?
And just go piece by piece, and ask. We as conservatives just have to do, and we're not doing it necessarily in our own space, but because we get so frustrated sometimes. But we have to do a better job of just getting away from the holy Roe versus Wade and just talking about, okay, so should a baby at 3 months, can you kill it at 3 months?
Right.
Okay, well then if you give me 3 months, can you give me 2 months? And
to see the people's faces change and their reactions and their responses change. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Seriously? So yeah. Yeah.
Well, one last prediction question for you then. What are some issues that will be truly bipartisan in 2022? Those issues where we just naturally come together as a country, left, right, Republican, Democrat. We all say yes.
I hope that with our support of our veterans, that community, there should be some place where we should be able to come together for that. Absolutely. For veterans. I don't know, like general reauthorization of defense legislation, like that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about pork in bills. I'm talking about the help that our veterans need.
Housing and health and all that,
all of
healthcare
those,
and all those things.
And we should not, like, we should not leave them and their families, like, you know, as we're watching programs, you know, at the start of this year about people in this community who are like our veterans and their families going to
they've given too
shelters
much.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
they've given too much and sacrificed too much. The veterans' families, all of them, and so for them to go through
have to go to a food bank, that just doesn't make sense.
or to have to live on the street or go to a shelter with their kids. That's completely unacceptable. They should be, when President Trump talks about America first and taking care of America, we need to take care of our people. We need to take care of the people that helped and supported and fought for us. And veterans are very important, and their families, like I said, too much they sacrifice. Your question was,
is there anything that we can unite around?
That would be.
That is pretty much the only thing that I can see. Hopefully there are areas of economic empowerment that we can, but usually when we start talking about economic empowerment, the left starts talking about giving people stuff for free, which is problematic for us.
You can't do that.
Yeah, I hear you. And curious enough, as you said that, I was thinking when you mentioned taking care of the veterans and America first, how so many of the left were against that slogan. They thought that it was just the very idea of America being first, taking care of America first was, I don't know, antithetical to being an American. I mean, it made me think about taking care of family first, that you make sure you take care of home first. And then once you take care of home, then you can take care of everybody else.
Right.
But I never agreed with why people were against that slogan.
When you get on the airplane, they always tell you to put the mask on you first, so that you're okay, and then you can take care of your kids or whomever else is on the plane with you. And so I look at it that way. We have to take care of home before we can start taking care of the rest of the world. And that's just how I feel about it.
Exactly how I see it too. I tell you, in this new year, I'm gonna need a lot of prayer and a lot of pound cake. Fortunately, I hear there's a book out there with both. Tell us one more time where we can find your book, Prayer and Pound Cake.
Actually, it's Prayer and Pound Cake. You can go to prayerandpoundcake.com, and actually you can get an autographed copy. But we're really,
Dee Dee loves the physical book. I'm an ebook and an audiobook listener. So I
guess that's dating me and making me old.
You can get the ebook or you can get the paperback.
Right.
But
it's a great book, and we're really.
Is it great?
It is a great book.
That's what I hear.
It is a great book, and thriving and surviving in your business, and we're really excited about it. And it's a labor of love, and God has blessed us to do it. So it's a long time coming, and it's only the first. It's more to come.
Right.
There's a Pound Cake series of books.
Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Well, my time is up. I thank you for yours. I'll see you again real soon, right here with a brand new episode. So until next time, bye-bye.